Most men remain unaware, not because they lack intelligence, but because they are never shown the game they are playing. Part 1. The game you never knew you were in. For countless generations, men have stumbled through life as if trapped in a maze, eyes wide open, yet blind to the truth. They've been taught to seek love, approval, fulfillment, as if these were noble prizes earned by loyalty, kindness, or persistence. But beneath this idealistic mirage lies a truth so raw, so unforgiving, that only a few have dared to confront it. One of those few was Arthur Schopenhauer, and what he uncovered wasn't just revolutionary, it was annihilating. Schopenhauer saw what most men are conditioned to ignore, that the fairy tale of love is just that, a tale, a fabrication designed to manipulate. Love is not the spiritual merging of two souls. It is not the universe conspiring to bring together kindred spirits. It is biology's most insidious trick, a program engineered by nature to perpetuate the species. Reproduction masked as romance. That intense attraction, the goosebumps, the fixation, the certainty that she completes me. It isn't divine synchronicity. It's not fate. It's your primal brain running silent algorithms, evaluating her health, her youth, her reproductive fitness. Your heartbeat isn't singing poetry. It's responding to evolutionary signals. Love is not purity. It's a strategy. And she is not on a parallel path seeking soul connection. Her subconscious is tuned to another frequency, one that hunts not for purity, but provision. Not for heart, but hierarchy. She scans for resources, safety, dominance, influence. Her instincts were shaped in caves, not coffee shops. Her smile, her softness, they are part of the game. They are not deception, but design. Schopenhauer did not attack women. He decoded them. He observed without illusion. He wrote that women operate through emotion rather than reason. Not because they are flawed, but because evolution made them survival experts, not philosophers. Their strength lies not in logic, but in instinct. And that instinct is merciless. Look around and see the pattern unfold in every corner of modern life. On dating apps, a small elite of men monopolize the majority of female attention. In courtrooms, men are stripped of assets in the name of fairness. In culture, male sacrifice is celebrated until it is no longer needed. The modern man clings to an outdated hope that if he is loving enough, selfless enough, attentive enough, he will earn devotion. But Schopenhauer's warning is stark. Love is not awarded to the worthy. It is magnetized to the powerful. Women are not drawn to kindness. They are compelled by competence, mystique, and perceived superiority. This is why the nice guy finishes last, not because his intentions are wrong, but because he misunderstands the framework. He thinks love is earned through giving. Nature designed it to be awarded through selection. And what comes after selection? The descent. Once the goal is achieved, once the conquest is complete, the biology powering the attraction recedes. The hormones settle, the desire cools, and without warning, her eyes drift. Not because she's wicked, but because her DNA compels it. The reproductive mission is over. The next cycle begins, and the man, he's left in ruins. His heart broke not by cruelty, but by nature. He gave everything to a fantasy and woke up in a nightmare. But here's the shift, the liberating pivot. She is not the villain. She is the messenger of a deeper design. And until you decode that message, you will always be a pawn in a game you don't understand. Schopenhauer didn't expose love to destroy it. He revealed its infrastructure so that men could make conscious choices. He saw through the flowers and songs, down into the bone and blood of what love really is. A negotiation, a contract dressed in perfume. And when you see this, everything changes. Because once love is unmasked, once you know it for the transaction it is, you stop offering discounts. You stop selling your soul for glimpses of affection. You stop chasing illusions, and you start building. You become the man who isn't chosen. You become the chooser. But this awakening isn't the end. It's the threshold. Awareness is merely the key. What lies ahead requires more than clarity. It demands a total reinvention. Because what's coming next isn't just unsettling, it's volcanic. And it explains why the modern man is collapsing, not only in relationships, but in his career, his purpose, and his identity. If you don't understand the next layer, you won't just lose the game. You'll never even realize you were playing. Part 2. The power she holds, the trap you enter. If the first illusion is love, the second, far more insidious, is control. The belief that man is the architect of relationships, the leader, the chooser, is perhaps the most dangerous deception ever implanted in the male psyche. Because true power, silent, invisible, psychological, has never belonged to the one who initiates, but to the one who selects. And in this dynamic, she has always been the selector. Arthur Schopenhauer, writing in a time when men ruled governments and commanded armies, was one of the few to perceive the truth hidden beneath the surface. While men shaped the external world with politics, war, and empire, women were shaping the internal world, desire, motivation, identity, through an influence far more lasting, emotional leverage. Her power does not announce itself with noise. It operates in suggestion, in silence, in subtle tests and wordless shifts. It is the art of manipulation without confrontation, of redirection without resistance. And it begins long before you realize a game is even being played. The modern man, raised on romantic comedies, social programming, and ideals of mutual love, walks into this game unarmed. He believes he is leading. He believes he is in control. But control is not claimed by action. It's claimed by reaction. Every choice you think you're making, what to wear, where to go, how to text, has already been influenced by her cues. Every joke you tailor, every opinion you soften, every part of yourself you edit in order to keep her interested is a submission you never labeled as such. This isn't about blame. It's about biology. She doesn't need to dominate you physically. Nature gave her sharper tools, perception, intuition, the ability to read emotions in fractions of seconds. The female brain, honed by millions of years of evolutionary necessity, became a machine for social navigation, while the male mind, built for confrontation, remains blind to subtext. And this is the battlefield. You don't know the rules, and she doesn't have to explain them. You think you're choosing her, while she's evaluating whether you'll make the right concessions. You offer stability, and she wonders if you're predictable. You display vulnerability, and she instinctively assesses whether it makes you weak or powerful. You bring her flowers, and she doesn't count the petals, she counts the leverage. Each gesture is a signal. Each moment is a test. Do you flinch when she withdraws attention? Do you chase when she grows cold? Do you apologize before understanding what you did? These are the real metrics by which attraction is measured. The more you seek to reassure her, the more she doubts your value. The more you declare your devotion, the more she questions your status. The more you show your need, the more invisible you become. Because at the core of female instinct is selection, not reward. She is not wired to love the man who tries hardest. She is wired to desire the man whose value is assumed. The man who doesn't ask, doesn't chase, doesn't need her to choose him, because he has already chosen himself. This is why indifference creates attraction. Why aloofness is interpreted as strength. Why the man who withholds earns more than the one who overgives. And it's not because women are cruel. It's because the female brain was designed to ensure the survival of the next generation. Her attraction is a radar for advantage, biological, social, psychological. And if you fail to signal that advantage, you become obsolete. Not hated, not betrayed, just discarded. The tragedy of the modern man is that he confuses performance with power. He thinks that if he's attentive, supportive, emotionally available, if he does everything right, then love will follow. But that's not how biology works. Desire doesn't follow logic. Respect doesn't follow kindness. Commitment doesn't follow consistency. It follows value, and value must be demonstrated, not declared. So when a man devotes himself entirely to her approval, he evaporates in her eyes. He becomes known, predictable, controlled, and a man who is controlled cannot be desired. This is what Schopenhauer called the tragedy of possession, the collapse of mystery after the illusion of victory. The moment she feels she has you entirely, your value begins to erode, not out of malice, but because desire dies in certainty. And so begins the trap. You give more, she feels less. You chase harder, she walks faster. You love deeper, she grows colder. Until one day, you realize that everything you offered, everything you sacrificed, was seen not as a gift, but as evidence that you were less. Because in the evolutionary script, the man who offers without restraint is the man who has no other options. And if you're not wanted by others, why should she want you? This is the cruelty of perception, the injustice of instinct. So what's the antidote? You stop proving and start becoming. You become a man whose identity is not built on her reaction. A man who does not flinch when affection is withdrawn, who does not justify his existence with flowers and poems and promises, who does not beg for loyalty, but inspires it. Schopenhauer's second great lesson is not about dominance nor manipulation. It's about detachment. When you detach your self-worth from her attention, she begins to feel yours. When you stop orbiting her, she begins to notice your gravity. When you stop asking to be seen, you become undeniable. So the real question isn't, how do I get her to love me? The question is, who am I becoming when I stop needing her love at all? Because the man who doesn't need permission to be valuable becomes irresistible. Part 3. The illusion of fairness, the reality of biology. If the first trap is love, if the second is control masked as choice, then the third is perhaps the most dangerous of all, the belief that the game is fair. From childhood, men are told stories that if you're kind, loyal, respectful, hardworking, if you treat her like a queen, she'll reward you with love, loyalty, family. That the universe respects goodness, that fairness governs relationships, that life plays by rules you can understand. But what if the game was never about fairness? What if everything you were taught was a lie? Arthur Schopenhauer pulled back the curtain and revealed what most men are too afraid to admit, that biology, not justice, governs attraction. Nature does not care about your effort. It does not reward moral behavior. It rewards advantage. And when it comes to mating, advantage is everything. From the moment a woman reaches sexual maturity, her value in the eyes of nature is immediate. She is young, fertile, attractive. She doesn't need to build commands attention. The man, on the other hand, begins at zero. He must earn his worth. He must build strength. He must create income. He must prove his intelligence, leadership, social standing, discipline. His value is conditional and fragile. It's a castle made of sand that he must rebuild every single day. And yet, the man believes that once he has built enough, once he has provided enough, then finally, she will stay. She will be loyal. She will be different. But this belief crumbles the moment his utility drops. Lose your job? She'll feel you've lost your power. Lose your confidence? She'll question her choice. Lose your edge? She'll look for someone who still has it. Not because she's cruel, but because she's designed to survive. Schopenhauer saw women not as enemies, but as biological agents of nature's ruthless logic. A woman is wired to upgrade, to secure the best possible outcome for her and her offspring. And if you stagnate, if you weaken, if you fall, you become a liability, not a partner. This is why devotion alone is never enough. The man who sacrifices himself for her, believing this will inspire loyalty, finds only resentment. He gives more. She pulls away. He apologizes. She grows cold. He becomes soft, hoping to be loved harder, and is discarded faster. Because love, in the eyes of nature, is not a contract. It is an assessment. And here's the brutal truth. Most men are losing. Not because they aren't good, but because they refuse to play the right game. They believe in mutuality. Biology believes in leverage. They believe in equality. Biology believes in value. They believe in partnership. Biology believes in selection. This is why modern dating feels like warfare. Why men are ghosted after first dates. Why long-term partners walk away out of nowhere. Why commitment no longer guarantees security. Because the rules men are playing by no longer match the reality they're in. And society is no help. It tells men to be soft, yet punishes them for weakness. It tells men to express emotions, but rewards stoicism. It tells men to be romantic, while women swipe for dominance. The messaging is broken. The instinct is not. And the man caught between the two is slowly being destroyed. He is torn apart by contradictions. Be vulnerable, but never unattractive. Be generous, but never taken for granted. Be loving, but never dependent. How can a man navigate a system where every step forward might disqualify him? Only one way. Stop pretending it's fair. Stop believing that women are looking for the same things you are. Stop projecting your emotional needs onto a system designed to test your strength. Schopenhauer's philosophy is not anti-woman. It is anti-delusion. Because until you see that biology is not a democracy, that attraction is not a moral exchange, that survival doesn't reward the nice, but the necessary, then you will keep playing a game rigged against you and blaming yourself when you lose. The woman is not your enemy. She is not evil, but she is nature's enforcer. Her instincts are older than civilization, and if you ignore them, they will eat you alive. So what's the move? You stop seeking fairness, you stop begging for balance, and you start mastering the only thing that has ever been within your control, yourself. Because when you stop waiting to be chosen, when you stop hoping to be enough, when you stop sacrificing your identity for approval, you begin to evolve, and that evolution changes everything. The question is no longer, will she stay? The question becomes, am I a man who can walk away? Because in the jungle of attraction, it is not the most loving who survives. It is the most sovereign. Part 4. The exit from the labyrinth, becoming untouchable. If the first trap was love, the second, control, the third, the illusion of fairness, then the final illusion is this, that your freedom depends on her, that her affection is your validation, that her presence is your purpose, that her approval determines your worth. This is the deepest lie, the one that chains even the strongest man to his own downfall, the one that makes kings beggars and warriors hollow. But Schopenhauer left a key, one final truth most men will never dare to use. The only way to win the game is to walk away from the board. You see, power in relationships, true power, is not dominance, it is detachment. The man who is owned by desire loses. The man who needs her to feel whole fractures. The man who builds his life around validation is living in a cage with golden bars. But the man who builds a kingdom within, who sharpens his mind, his body, his mission, becomes untouchable. Because when your value no longer depends on her opinion, she is drawn to you uncontrollably. When you no longer chase, she wonders where you're going. When you no longer react, she tests harder, then submits. And if she walks away, you don't fall. You don't plead. You don't even flinch. Because your foundation is not built on her presence, but on your purpose. This is what Schopenhauer meant when he said, "The happiness which we receive from ourselves is greater than that which we obtain from our surroundings." Modern men chase shadows. They want to be chosen, not realizing the ultimate power lies in becoming the chooser. You don't need her to be happy. You need to master solitude. You need to conquer your mind. You need to love your own path so completely that no woman, no rejection, no silence can shake your core. Because here's the paradox that changes everything. The less you need her, the more magnetic you become. The more whole you are alone, the more women crave your presence. The more detached you are from outcome, the more outcomes you command. But this isn't a trick. This isn't about pretending to not care. It's about becoming a man who genuinely doesn't break when he loses what others think he needs. A man who sees through illusions, who understands that beauty fades, validation shifts, emotions lie. The truth is unshakable. The truth that your life is yours, that no woman, no system, no biological gain gets to dictate your value. And when you live from that truth, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing queens because you've become a king. So here is the final question. Will you keep fighting battles in a rigged arena? Or will you step beyond it, rebuild your kingdom, and let the world orbit you? Because once you stop needing her, you become the one she can never forget. And that is the end of the illusion.